Whether it's exploding bursts of rotten poison with a needle flower growing out of your foot, or ignoring every single one of the boss's attacks as you flip through the air and slam down with colossal amounts of frostbite, there's a lot of ridiculously powerful and cool new builds to play around with. Hello then, my fellow Tarnished, and welcome today as I take you through 5 of my favourite creations from Shadow of the Erdtree and all of the new toys that it's given us to tinker and construct into a perfect boss-killing masterpiece. Seriously, I can't sleep. Every day is just... But all the power in the world is no fun if it's not, well, fun. So that's a guarantee here as well that each of these builds is, well, extremely actually entertaining to pilot. And as usual, all 5 of these builds can be found linked below in their own dedicated videos explaining everything you could ever want to know about them. So without further ado, let's begin with number 5. My take on the Poison Flower Blooms Twice. One of the best new Ashes of War, at the very least thematically, and is definitely in the runnings for my favourite one. It's so enjoyable. Leaping up into the air, gaining loads of hyper armor, growing a little rot needle from your foot, and then slamming down on the enemy, injecting them with it, is ultra satisfying. It gives a way to apply Scarlet Rot to any weapon without actually needing the status on it, which is incredibly freeing creatively. But the bonus is that it's the big brother of Poison Moth Flight, i.e. if the enemy is already poisoned or rotted, it will do huge amounts of bonus damage, and I do mean huge. You will hit like 10k slams on this thing. So the natural combination then is way to apply poison very fast, detonate it, and repeat. And I could also not resist mixing in just a little bits of bleed, so we get those extra pops and the extra AR building from all of your bleed synergy like Bloodlord's Exaltation. I chose Venomous Fang because I like snakes, and it's shaped like a snake. Okay, no, that's not fair. It's also a claw with a very fast moveset that lets you apply said deadly poison, the even stronger version that it does apply, much quicker than other methods, which also goes for the bleed that we have mixed in. So that all comes together then with the usual trappings and buffs, and indeed a little bit of a bonus poison hand just kinda sat there giving you an extra little boost, and we get this lovely setup that I cannot recommend enough. Next up then, on this journey through wonderful builds, did you know that the backhand blades are really strong? Okay. That's fair enough. Everyone knows it by this point. That sweet S-scaling with dexterity, whack a weapon buff on them, enjoy blind spot, and kind of just ruin bosses. Seriously, blind spot by itself just lets you dance around anything and kill it with minimal hits. Or, in this case, still a fair amount of hits, but hey, imagine how many hits he'd be taking if it wasn't for blind spot. I think that's worth keeping in mind. But it's not about blind spot. It's not about the blood flame, though that looks amazing and performs wonderfully, giving you those pops and that boost. No, it's about dash attacks. The heavy dash attack of the backhand blades is a 4-hit combo, which makes it incredibly good for applying said blood flame, but it also lets it synergize with the new dash attack power boosts. A new talisman you get from Leda, her armor itself. They both boost running attacks, and because it's a 4-hit, we can work in the multi-hit boost like Rotten Winged, and suddenly we have these ultra-powerful heavy running attacks hitting 4 times, stacking up blood flame, doing monstrous amounts of damage, powered by blind spot, which then takes you behind the boss to do an easy running heavy attack. It's a wonderful bit of synergy, and I really, really adore it. Next up then, I invite you to dance. The Dance of Radahn. because Radahn's dancing I'll stop saying it like that, are actually secretly really kinda ridiculously good. Obviously, there's no poise while doing it, that would really push them over the edge, but you don't need it, because you can either A, combine it with something like Iron Jar if you're willing to have them on your person and craft them and keep a stock of them, then you can just ignore the boss, dancing to it, because the massive forward momentum on the dance means that the overloaded, slow-walking nature of Iron Jar is completely irrelevant, and then you just power through, out-damage the boss, and kill it before you die, because again, you're taking barely any damage because you're Iron Jarred. It's really quite good, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on this, and I was so happy when this worked out as well as it did when I tested it. And believe me, I have tested goddamn everything. I mean, who else is out here going, yeah, I'm gonna put Iron Jar on the Dancing Blades of Radahn and just AFK hold the Ash into the boss? But as I said, I'm glad I did. It turned out really well. But fear not, you don't need to play it like this. You've got a lot of damage coming out the dance, even from just the first couple hits. And they do come out quickly. So any normal opening, instead of normal attacks, you just do the start of the dance, you build up multi-hit damage with the usual suspects like Rotten and Millies, and you go to town. It's got really great scaling, really solid AR, and you don't need to do the sort of cheap version at all. You can just play the weapon, use the armor set to boost it further, and enjoy your openings of elegance and death. So, following that then, how could I not do a build using aspect of the Crucible wings? We saw it in the trailer, we all got very excited that us as players will finally be able to do that classic Crucible leap up in the air, fly towards your enemy, and the reality is, it's fine, except if you use it with a twin blade, where it gets a hell of a lot better. There is a little bit of hyper armor to it, not a lot though, but with a twin blade, you attack many times twirling along. If the enemy, the boss, is big and you press against them, that's a lot of hits, a lot of damage very quickly. And what do a lot of hits very quickly mean? Yeah, status, blood flame, bleed, and indeed multi-hit power from Rotten Winged to skyrocket your output. But we take the new Black Steel Twin Blade that has holy damage on it despite being infusible Ash of Warable, that really pushes us over the edge. It's got an incredibly solid moveset, and just the raw damage from using the Twin Blade in this setup is absolutely through the roof. The wings then make for an extra burst tool when the opportunity arrives, or a repositioning / evasion tool that still gets a bit of damage in on the way past. It's a very complete build that is multifaceted, lets you use the Ash and the weapon properly in harmony while having all the backup incantations and buffs you would want, and also you're incredibly tanky because you're wearing the Crucible armor to boost the Ash of War itself, which yes does work, and the whole thing just comes together beautifully. I am really happy with it, and I really hope you will be too if you give it a go. Next up though, and for the top of this particular collection, is probably my favorite build that I've created so far for the Shadow of the Erdtree, and that is Frosty Savage Lion's Claw. We're holding two big beefy weapons. Hell, we're fat rolling, though you don't need to. There is alternate versions to go off that I explain in its dedicated video, but I absolutely adore this Ash of War. It's not a strict improvement over base Lion's Claw. All 3 hits will do more damage than base Lion's Claw, all 3 hits will do more stagger than base Lion's Claw. But notice I say all 3 hits, it takes all 3 hits. But when all 3 do land, wow. And they're gonna land, because the tracking is huge and the hyper armor is essentially infinite, and that's what makes this such a joy. The triple hit means you can play with status really well, like Frostbite here, while still keeping really high strength scaling, so your AR is through the roof, and hell, it does more damage even if you were just on pure strength. But then you can use it to deliberately trade with bosses during moves that you normally couldn't. Messmer is a great example. Normally that fight opens with you rolling his 2 opening attacks, the explosion ball coming down and then the explosion incantation while, well, exploding. Whereas this, because it's a 2-part Lion's Claw Ash of War, you can just do part 1 through the first hit, part 2 through the second hit, and then you've already done a monstrous amount of damage, you're getting your frost going, and the fight's already in your hands. It's so good. But then because we're overweight, we can use extra damage reduction to power this trading and shrug off the blows with the new talisman that's more defense if you are overloaded. Then you can also have yourself Freya's curved greatsword, which adds 10% damage to red main skills, of which Savage Lion's Claw is, which is why having it on your back is not just a fashion statement, it really amps up the power of the build. You essentially just become this unstoppable, twirling, massive damage dealing, frostbite inflicting badass that just trades and doesn't care what the bosses are doing, and yes, that even extends to the final boss too. All in all, I just think it's so much fun to play, with such room for learning boss movesets and choosing the best ways to actually Lion's Claw through their attacks and get that extra damage in, and the poise damage is immense too, so lots of critical hits coming your way. Basically, I'm a big fan of this one. And with that then, well, that's that. My latest collection of 5 builds I'm very happy with, very proud of, and I hope you have enjoyed them too. Let me know if you try any of them, let me know if you like any of them, and indeed look out for all the further ones that will of course be coming your way. I have so many ideas I want to try, and I can't wait for you to see them. For now though, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.